If I can find it, we'll play some of it. But this was the Jeremy Piven show. This was the show featuring Dr. Ken. I've gotten all these emails about what a big star Dr. Ken is. Okay? I don't give a fuck. Okay? I don't care. I don't care if Barack Obama, the president of the fucking United States, had been on the show. If he would have acted this annoying, he would have gotten the exact same burial. I don't ever want to see Dr. Ken ever again in my life. Dr. Ken, I will say this, though. The douchebag on Get Me Out of Here, the celebrity show, he's significantly worse than Dr. Ken. So that has not changed, for those of you wondering. But this guy, holy God.
Well, they came out in their really fat-ass Trans Am, which, in hindsight, was probably the peak of the show with this car. And they came out, and Dr. Ken was...
You're forgetting already. The music they had with these two guys made me want to pull my hair out. There was something about the music combination and these two dipshits
that has nothing to do with the car. The car itself was cool.
Great anger I had. Great anger.
It was very, very annoying. And Piven mentioned that this Dr. Ken fellow was in The Hangover, and I thought, oh, yes, I saw that movie. It was funny. He had a very small part, and in that small part, he was funny. So, okay. And then he quickly got very, very annoying. And I cannot believe this man is actually a professional performer or entertainer anyway. And I went back and looked it up. He has been in a bunch of movies I've seen, and upon hindsight, I enjoyed him in those movies.
Ma'am?
He was dirt horrible on the show.
Horrendous.
I don't know. Maybe he's just an actor who cannot do his own material, and here he was left to his own devices, and the resulting product sucked. But at the end of the show, when he fell on his head, I laughed and howled. That's all I can tell you. So he came out. He drove me. I don't care. He came out. He drove me crazy. Piven, for what... I think if Piven had been by himself, it would have been okay.
I actually agree with that. I didn't. Well, when I just watched him, I was like, you're not too bad. Yeah. In fact, you're doing a decent job here. It's your dipshit fucking sidekick
who needs to die.
Yeah.
Yes. Although Dr. Ken did not say Summerfest.
No, he didn't.
And Piven messed up the name of the biggest show of the summer. So they came out. They were annoying for a long time. Miz came out. He was. I cheered. He was such a star. To me at least, he seemed like the savior of the show. He came out. He called out John Cena. Cena came out and buried Miz deep beneath the earth, and in the worst possible way. Not buried him as a guy he hates or anything, but a complete non-threat.
He said, "You're no good. You're ugly, and nobody would possibly want to see this match. So, Piven, you need to try and make it exciting."
Yeah, let me repeat that. Jeremy Piven, you need to make this wrestling match exciting.
Yeah.
Because myself, John Cena, and this Miz fellow, we can't do it on our own.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Or WWE.
Or WWE or anything else. Only Jeremy Piven can make it exciting. My jaw dropped there, and there was much more to come. So to make this all very, very, very long story very short, they booked Cena and Miz in a lumberjack match. If Miz lost, he was banned from Raw and Summerfest and the Staples Center, quote, for all of eternity.
Yeah. Write that down, everybody.
The fuck was this?
To make a long segment short, how about this? Fail. The fail horns.
Fail horns and a no-buys anthem.
How about this one? I got another one for you.
When all you guys go back to L.A., your home turf, and if you lose, we will ban you from the Summerfest. You'll be banned.
By the way, Miz is from Cleveland.
The Summerfest.
They have made this clear multiple times.
I love the idea that they were talking about how Cena was always trying to run from Cena, or I'm sorry, Miz was always trying to run from Cena, and that's why they were having to do this lumberjack match. And in this exact fucking segment, Cena's the one that came out and demanded a match with the guy.
Miz's.
What?
Yeah.
Miz did, yes.
And,
what the fuck?
Yeah. This is poor. And then it got even more poor. They brought out Evan Bourne to wrestle Jack Swagger, which sounds like a great idea.
Especially after their great match last week that Evan won in a big upset.
Right. And this week they went like 3 minutes and Jack Swagger killed him dead.
Killed him dead. Just killed him. And then he kept killing him until MVP came out to save the little bugger.
What an impotent fool Evan Bourne turned out to be.
2 segments, 2 burials.
Is there any way to get this guy off the show?
Who?
Evan Bourne.
Oh.
Just the instant he was drafted to the show, I knew it was death.
Well, yeah, just like Brian Kendrick.
Yes.
We had Shaq and Big Show clips. Cole was going nuts. And then they asked, they were going to do a poll. Who do you think is going to win, or who do you think would win, Shaq and the Big Show? 3 segments, 3 burials. Although the actual burial part was going to come later. We had stuff with Piven and Dr. Ken backstage in the Big Show. And Show said he wanted Shaq. Piven said no. Show said he wanted Piven because it would get ratings and the internet buzzing. That's what he said.
This is Impact.
And Piven said no, but I'll give you a U.S. title shot against Kofi. And Show was all right with this.
Show liked the idea of winning the United States Championship. He thought that would be a good plan. I also like that he, just keep that part in mind, but he said he wanted Shaq, and he wanted Shaq tonight.
Just fly him in. Just get a Learjet.
Not only fly him in a Learjet, in the next 90 minutes.
Oh, that's why you have the Learjet.
Get him in this building.
And we had Jerry Lawler saying, quote, I love Dr. Ken.
I think he was lying.
There's another burial, his own credibility. Actually, some of you will not even, actually most of you will probably believe this now that I think about it, but Vince found Dr. Ken hilarious. Of course.
Sure.
Vince has the worst sense of humor I've ever heard of in my life. So there you go. We had a clip from Piven's movie, which looks like the worst movie ever made.
Sweet God.
I will never, ever see this film.
Now, and
Dr. Ken is in it.
Yeah, that's probably not a coincidence. And I mentioned that I have seen the other movies Dr. Ken has done, or at least a lot of them, and I liked all of those. This looks awful. And please don't tell me that this ends up being the funniest scene in the movie, because there was no comedy whatsoever. And if it's not the best scene in the whole movie, or even a good scene, why the fuck did they use it to try and plug the movie? This was terrible. Mickey and Gail against Beth and Jillian. A women's match with 4 women who can actually work, and it still wasn't all that good. And finish was a mess. There was absolutely no heat for this.
Beth got the win over Gail, I believe. I don't know. Who cares?
Gail was going for a move, and Beth came in to hit her, and she missed her, and Gail sold anyway. And Beth pinned her. There was no heat for it. And worst of all, they had the girls come out before the commercial, then the match, which means I had to listen to Michael Cole say smart, sexy, and powerful twice.
Yeah, well, that's the new catchphrase.
And there's no one on earth who likes catchphrases more than Michael Cole.
No, really there is not. Then we had the Hunter Legacy match 2-on-1. This was something else.
They had a pretty fun little handicap match.
They had a handicap match. Hunter ran wild, and then they cut him off, and they beat him up, and then he made the hot tag to himself and ran wild, and they sold for him. And
he was eventually overwhelmed.
They did a couple of double-team finishes. They both hit their finisher on him, and then they pinned him.
Yes.
And when they pinned Triple H, it was like the crowd was so shocked to see young guys pin Triple H, even 2-on-1, that they went, "Whoa! Yay!
Wow! Holy crow! Yes!"
And I thought, wow, the entire show has been saved.
They've accomplished something here. In the long term, they have boosted Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase, and in the short term, now there's a very simple match for SummerSlam. Hunter has decided, I can't do this by myself. I need to go get a partner for a tag match. Easy.
Wrong.
And then Hunter cut the promo.
Ow! That hurt. That did not go as I planned. I don't get this. Is it just that these guys are that good? They keep beating me every which way I turn. I don't know. Maybe they're too much for me. Maybe they're that tough. You know, I used to be pretty good at this gang warfare stuff. I had gangs. I beat up everybody. Maybe I should start another group. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll bring one back. Maybe I'll bring back Evolution. And then everybody was kind of like, And he goes, well, let me rethink that. Maybe not. Randy is a jerk. Batista is always hurt, and Flair is out signing autographs at the local VFW hall. This is what he said.
This is not exaggeration.
Then he said, I'm just going to make one phone call. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll make one phone call, and if you're not down with that, I have 2 words for you. And everybody went, suck it! My delivery actually was probably very close to Hunter's in making a complete and utter joke out of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Just a complete and utter joke. Like a parody of the promo that needed to be cut. What in the hell was this? Revolting. Repulsive.
The whole thing, too, also from his back.
Grotesque.
He never got
Not even his back. He just kind of... He sat up and leaned against the ropes. Like, boy, that was a workout.
That did not go as I planned.
That did not go as I planned.
Comedy, everyone.
Comedy.
Hunter thought it was funny that he had been beaten
Remember
up and
last
pinned.
week when he was so angry that he didn't get his title shot at SummerSlam because these two guys ruined it for him again. He was so angry. He was frothing at the mouth. He was ready to kill somebody, and that somebody actually was Legacy. Next week, I'm going to beat your asses. I'm that guy you don't mess with. Then he comes out here and goes, wow, that didn't go as I planned. Well, shit. How lame. I'll just go find another old guy, and we'll have a crappy match and beat you guys and cheer. Everybody will cheer. This sucked.
This was quite wretched. And it should be noted also, this had nothing to do with Michael Piven and Dr. Ken.
No.
This sucked on its own.
Piven, Dr. Ken, and Chavo did a segment. It was also horrible. Although there was the best part of the show where Chavo thought Piven was Joe Rogan. And that was the very first thing I thought when he came out at the beginning of this show. And when Chavo said it out loud, I howled with laughter. So it was wretched. They signed another fucking match between these two for later.
I must ask, do you, they were making fun of each other, not knowing names and stuff, and Michael Piven called Chavo Charo.
I thought he called him Charles.
Now, here's my question.
No, I have no idea who Charo is, and I don't care.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, who is he?
It's a girl.
Okay, who is it?
She was a guitar player, dancer, wacky TV personality in like the 60s and 70s.
In the fucking 60s and 70s?
Yes.
So this is supposed to be a joke that everyone's supposed to get on fucking Raw. The
Correct.
kids show, the PG show.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. Don't know who Charo is. Then we had Carlito and Primo. This match was...
the colons collide.
Yeah.
I was very excited when I thought of that joke.
That was great. It was bad. Mostly because Carlito didn't give a fuck, and then he won.
Yes.
It's just amazing.
He came out... I don't know if you read the tent show report we got on the site, but...
Which one? They were intense all weekend.
That's true. There was one report in particular where a guy was like, Yoshi's someone versus Shelton Benjamin.
I was just laughing. Now, no offense if you sent this report in, but you're sending a report to the Wrestling Observer website,
yes,
and you don't know who Yoshi Tatsu...
You like wrestling enough to go to the show. You like the Observer enough to send in results, and you don't know who Yoshi Tatsu or the Surfer guy are.
It was amazing.
But this same guy... I think it was the same guy, but he noted it was very clear that Carlito had no interest in being there.
No shit!
This guy, who knows nothing, could tell that. So Carlito came out, he half-assed his way. Primo did what he could, but it was lame, and it was so boring that when Primo started his comeback, he hits a few big punches and the cartwheel and the dropkick. Michael Cole says, Primo picking up the pace.
Yeah.
This segment failed, and then Carlito won to ensure further failure.
We had Charo, who's apparently a 60s female, and Mark Henry in a red singlet and a leprechaun hat, replacing Hornswoggle. And Henry won, and then the midget splashed Chavo again. Do even children still care?
They cheered. There was cheering for this.
Did you laugh this week?
No.
No. Well, you did last week.
I'm not denying that, but the frog splash. I laughed at the frog splash. I did not laugh at anything here, although I didn't know that Mark Henry hitting the World's Strongest Slam got the best reaction of anything on the show. That is bad.
Then we had Piven and Orton. Piven wanted to be the ring announcer. Orton didn't want to. He got all mad, and they said they'd figure it out. Dr. Ken was now scared. Not fucking scared enough. They had the poll. 81% thought Shaq would beat the Big Show.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious.
And they aired this.
Yeah, they didn't lie. Fix the poll. Oh no. 81% think Big Show is that shitty that he'd lose to Shaq in a pro wrestling match. It's not even who would win a basketball battle.
No,
can you imagine
even a fight.
Can you imagine the NBA going, who could sink more baskets, Shaq or the Big Show? And all the NBA fans voted 81% for the Big Show.
Yes.
Do you think that would ever fucking air on a telecast?
Probably not.
No. Never. We had Triple H on the phone backstage. Oh, Show versus Kofi. Show beat the holy hell out of him forever, and then got disqualified for beating him too badly and not breaking at 5.
This after he had spoken earlier about how badly he wanted to be the U.S. champion.
Yeah. And he, after 15 years in this business, he doesn't know the rules. Jericho apparently doesn't know the rules after 20 years in this business. And, this was bad. Jericho on commentary was hilarious. The rest of it sucked.
The only two good things were Jericho on commentary, and Kofi hit the biggest leg drop of all time.
He actually did. He may have broken his ass, but...
Yes.
Then we had the Triple H segment backstage on the phone where Sean, to recap, said, I don't want to come back to wrestling. I don't ever want to come back. I'm not watching Raw. I've got a new life and apparently a new job. And by the way, people keep mentioning... Hunter goes, you said, I thought you never did jobs. And I wrote, well, what job is Sean doing now? Walmart, municipal pool. And people are like, that's not what they were talking about. I guess to say that they were talking about losing in a wrestling match and I didn't get the joke.
Okay.
I did fucking get the joke, okay? But he's not coming back. He's not doing the match. Why would he talk about losing in a match? He was talking about having another job.
He told
and
Hunter,
the joke was, I thought you didn't do jobs.
Right.
That's the fucking joke, you geeks. So the question is, what job is Shawn Michaels doing? Mrs. Fields? He does like chocolate chip cookies.
Sure.
He does. Remember when he came back fat?
I remember you mean the very first match with Hunter?
Yeah, the very first match where he was chubby.
I forget who, we were just trying to discuss this, and someone in the room just said, he looks married. And we all said, yes.
He went home with his new child, and they sat around and ate chocolate chip cookies all day. And then he ended up coming back to the ring. He had to lose all the weight. Anyway, so Sean hung up on him.
Yes, to put a capper on things. He buried Raw, he buried pro wrestling, and then he buried his best friend Hunter.
Yeah.
This is an amazing show.
Yes, it was. Somebody who emails me regularly, he's going to get very mad that I bring this up, but he sends me an email. I wasn't even at home. And he's like, HBK buried again. I knew it. And I emailed him back and I said, I'm not even watching the show. I don't know what happened, but I guarantee HBK was not buried. And he was like, how can you guarantee this? And I said, because you always think HBK is being buried, and you don't know what the term being buried means. Okay? Shawn Michaels was not buried on this show.
Absolutely
Shawn
not.
Shawn Michaels came off as the fucking coolest guy on this show. Because he doesn't care about any of this shit. He could give a fuck less whether he ever came back. That is not a burial. That is a burial of the entire company. And they wrote it themselves.
Industry.
Yeah. Slaughter is the guest host next week, apparently to plug the G.I. Joe movie.
I missed this announcement, and I am fine with that.
Yep. And then we had Cena and Miz in a lumberjack match. And
this is where, Piven comes out, and he announces, hey, it's a lumberjack match, but I forgot to tell you something. I'm a huge Randy Orton fan.
Yeah.
And he pulls out his Randy Orton t-shirt. I handpicked all the lumberjacks. And, of course, it's all the heels. So, at this point, Dr. Ken, his only brief positive moment on the show was when he morphed into Andy Kaufman and shouted, I am from Hollywood, shut up, fat boy. That was the end of his positive contributions. So it's John Cena versus The Miz, surrounded by guys who hate John Cena. And he gets down outside, and he gets his ass kicked by like 3 dudes. And they beat him and beat him and beat him. And they throw him back in, and he grabs Miz and hits his move and pins him.
Yeah.
Burial!
Yeah. So there you go. And beat him. I guess Miz is going to ECW or SmackDown or something. But then, of course, as mentioned, Cena beat up Piven, who dead-weighted him. Piven went for a high cross and kicked his feet like Mr. Kennedy and didn't hold on at all. And John fucking Cena, who gives the Big Show FUs, is huffing and puffing and leaning back and shaking and sweating. And he drops the actor when Dr. Ken hits him. And then he tries to press slam Dr. Ken, who doesn't help him at all, and is a bag of rocks. And he gets thrown outside, and there's 3 dudes out there, none of whom managed to catch Dr. Ken, who whacks the back of his head on the ground. And a complete, utter disaster of a last segment. And there you go.
That was the end of Raw.
Horrendous.
Which is theoretically designed to promote SummerSlam.
Yeah.
This was a terrible, god-awful, miserable, shitty, useless television program.
I was talking on the Observer Live show, or the Observer Radio show, about how these guest hosts are all fine in the sense that Shaq did a 4 rating, But all this guest host bullshit takes away from time you could be devoting to matches for your pay-per-views, for example. It's very much like Impact in that way. Impact is say what you will about Russo, but his bullshit is great for drawing ratings. It does nothing for pay-per-views. It does nothing for house shows. So these guest celebrity things on Raw are the same thing. Well, problem is on this show, they didn't even add one fucking single match to SummerSlam.
No.
And it ended up doing a 3.55 rating.
That's bad, right?
It failed on every level.
Yeah.
It was down a half a point from Shaq last week. Yeah.
That's like 12%.
So anyway, this was a disaster. So that was Raw, everybody. Do not catch the replay on whatever the Mexican channel is that plays it. It's not worth it.
If it's on your DVR, throw your DVR away.
Erase it immediately. It's terrible.